So obviously this year has been challenging in so many ways for a lot of different people. We are still seeing the influx of people coming into the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area, Southwest Florida as a whole. So today we're going to be talking about living in Southwest Florida in 2022. And we're getting after that next. Hey everybody, my name is Craig Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida. If you're looking for a channel to tell you a little bit more about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, this is the channel for you. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell to make sure you're notified every time. Go to our nextfloridahome.com to start your search. And if you want to do it on your cell phone, pick up our app in the App Store, our Next Florida Home, and do your search there. If you've got any questions, you've got to do what everyone else does and call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. Okay, so you have probably heard a lot about different areas of the country experiencing different things in the housing market. And one thing I want to bring up is, yes, absolutely, interest rates have changed the market a bit, but our inventory is coming up a bit as well. We have almost 5,000 single-family homes here in the Southwest Florida area for you to choose from. Varying price ranges. I mean, that's for every price range. It cuts pretty much in half if you go 500,000 or below. So you still have quite a few options in that price range. And if this is what you're looking for right now, I'm telling you, competition for the homes is not what it used to be. We're not seeing multiple offers on every listing, and we're not seeing these dog fights where you have to go up tens of thousands of dollars above the asking price. So how is that beneficial? Well, if the interest rate went up and you're worried about your payment going up slightly due to that, the lesser amount that you're putting into the home with the bid amount is going to balance that out. Sometimes, in fact, I'm seeing us coming under the asking price. It just depends what the situation is. How long the home's been on the market, how bad the people need to move. Are they building a home and need to sell this one? There's a lot of conditional things to think about, but keep in mind, you're not going to have that kind of competition, at least right now. We're still coming out of the summertime, about to roll into our fall. I guess we don't really have seasons here, so I guess we'll call it fall. But you have to consider what you're doing as we get towards the end of the year, because that's when our seasonal folks start to come back. When they start to come back, there's that first rush where they might be looking for homes. Then there's a lull in between where they're kind of kicking tires. And then they'll once again come fast and furious before they leave in the springtime. So keep that in mind. If you are looking for a home right now, it's really not a bad time to buy. Now, there is some partial truth to some of the things you're going to see out there. The evictions thing, it's real. And I've got a buddy, Don, he's in the property management business, and he's the one that has to unfortunately do these evictions. He says he's got about 51 of them coming up in the next couple weeks. But here's the problem. As soon as those 51 are evicted, there's 51 that are put back in place. People are in line still waiting for rentals here, especially if they're single-family homes, because that's what people want. I know these apartment buildings, they're getting slapped up everywhere. There's tons of them. But if you're anything like me, you don't really want to share walls. You don't want to have to go up steps. You don't want to have to be in elevators. There's a very specific lifestyle if you're going to do the apartment living. And then you're not even saving that much money, because apartments around here, they're still in the $2,000 range per month. So what kind of cost savings is that? Anyway, single-family homes, still the number one thing for rentals, and they will always have somebody to fill it. Now, here's the funny thing about that. They're talking about how the investors might get a little bit of a pinch due to these evictions happening and maybe not being able to fill the homes. Well, Southwest Florida is different. That's, again, why you have to listen to local news and get local information. We aren't seeing those problems. They still want these homes. And even if the price had to come down a little bit for these investors to keep the units occupied, they're still not losing money. They bought these homes in most cases at a good buy. They're covering their bases with the rent right now because it's so darn high. So a little bit of an adjustment isn't going to change anything for them. All right, and so it begins. Our first roadblock we're looking at for short-term rentals is happening in one of our cities around here. It's down in Marco is kind of where this whole thing is starting, but they're trying to wrangle the whole short-term rental situation. And what's happening is all the properties down there, all the property owners have to register every year their home if it's going to be a short-term rental. And then they're going to be responsible and get fines and things like that for any kind of parking ordinance violations or noise ordinance violations. That's where they're starting. Now, there's going to be more rules put in place, but these are two of the biggest ones they're going after right out the gate. I will tell you that Cape Coral has had a registration process in place for rentals, and that's just so that if they're kept in bad repair, that somebody knows where to go to get the owner. In any case, if you don't register, how are they going to find it? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how they're policing it, but there are cities around here that are starting to put these things into place to control some of the nuisance things that happens with short-term rentals. So keep that in mind. If you're going to be investing in a property, you might too fall under some of these rules and guidelines as we go through time. All right, so buyers, if you're looking at new construction, a couple things we have to talk about with new construction. First, you may not get appliances at all. You may not get a washer and dryer. That seems to be the washer and dryer seems to be the one thing that is and many times not included. Some builders do. Some builders still include it. So it's case by case with the builders. But I know of one builder in particular that they give you a credit at closing for all the appliances. They don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to play the waiting game. They don't want to have to try to find it. So they just give you the money for it. I know, sounds inconvenient. And in some cases, depending on your loan type, they're going to have to put at least one appliance in there for you to cook, whether it's a microwave or a range. But I guess they figure they're going to cross that bridge when they get to it. Now, another thing that's happening here is some of the smaller builders. This one is a really excessive example. But Christina and Brian were just recently informed that their home that was being built for the last, supposed to be built for the last 18 months, is not going to be built. They are citing reasons like not being able to get certain supplies or having difficulty passing their permits with the city. Whatever it is, it's been 18 months and the slab hasn't even been poured. So you tell me what you think. Does it really sound like they're trying? No, it certainly doesn't, because I was out this past week with Richard and Shannon. We were doing the final walkthrough of their home. Congratulations, guys. I'm glad you love the home. Anyway, we were doing the final walkthrough. I was talking to the sellers, and they're showing me pictures of a brand new build that they did as owner builders. So if they can get it done as just private individuals, found their own contractors, all that stuff, had the home built, and it's finished, they're ready to move into it. If they can do it, tell me how somebody that's calling themselves a builder and running a business can't do it. You know what one of the problems was? They didn't have an escalation clause. 18 months ago, that home was much, much less than what it would be today. So what do you think? Sounds like they're probably going to lose their backside on it and wanted to run away from it. That's what could happen to you if you're dealing with some of the smaller builders. So be careful. Another thing that's happening, I went to do a final walkthrough today for Mike and Jessica. Hey guys, love the view out the back. It's a beautiful home. And that path across the way, Mike, yes, it is absolutely there. So you're going to love being able to take your hikes through the woods. In any case, they bought up in Babcock Ranch. Nice home. It's going to be a really nice home once it's completed. Now, we were supposed to do a final walkthrough today, but I couldn't complete the process for them. And again, that's one of the things I do as a representative for you. I go to these meetings. I take pictures and videos. I'm your feet on the ground right here when you can't be. Anyway, I went to do this meeting for them and found out there's no carpeting. None of the final painting's been done. Trim work's missing. AC just went in yesterday. So all the ducts, or not the grates, I'll say the grates for over the doorways and in front of where the air gets drawn into the AC in the closet, those are all missing. So everything's missing in that regard. There's a lot of work still to be done. They got a week left to do it. They assure us it's going to get done. But I was told by the sales guy that, hey, this isn't even the worst of what the homes look like when they're finished and ready to close. So that tells me that even the big guys, the big builders, they're having difficulty. They can't get ACs. They can't get a shower enclosure. Mike, you're not going to have a shower enclosure. They're going to give you a credit. That's the other thing these builders are doing. If they can't finish something or can't get something, they're passing it on to you. Now it's your responsibility. They'll give you a credit and they'll say, hey, fix it on your own. Find somebody to do it for you. We just don't have the time to do it any longer. So be aware, new construction is frustrating. It's difficult. Again, make sure you have somebody that's helping you through the process to walk through these landmines and kind of be your representative and speak up for you, because these things are supposed to be done. And they're going to come at you asking for a 5-star review, or they want a 10 on their score at the end of the process. Why? Why do you think I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 when the home isn't even finished? And it might be finished, half-assed. That's not what we're looking for. We're spending $500,000-$600,000. we're expecting a nice home. So that's what you can expect in new construction. It's still happening. Some of the builders, again, it's case by case. So some of the builders are still finishing them nicely, and they do have a very good follow-up process for the punch out, and they usually give you a 1-year bumper-to-bumper is what they call it, bumper-to-bumper warranty, so that anything on the home, nail pops and things like that over that first year, they'll come out and repair. However, things are so busy right now, and amid all of these shortages and short-staffedness and all that, I don't know if it's still going to happen, but that's the promise they make up front. Building volume is different for each one of these builders, and they all have different processes. And one thing I noticed when I was driving around is that they even handle the parts of the home that are going in differently. And what I mean by that is you either have a home that's just block and there's no trusses out front, meaning they either didn't get them yet or forgot to order them when they were supposed to, because it takes a long time to get your trusses. Those have to be ordered at the front end of the process. Then you have others that have trusses that are just left out in the rain, in the weather. And this time of year, we get poured on every single day. And I even saw the gentleman, Brian from iMold, he posted something the other day talking about how these trusses are getting moldy sitting out in some cases, and they're not being properly cleaned off before they get stuck inside the house. So what's that look like? The future could be kind of bleak for some people if they end up having mold all through their trusses up in the attic. Then there's the good builders, the builders that have a conscience, that want to take care of things, and they actually cover their trusses. They come out with tarps, cover them all up, make sure they're protected as best they can, and that way they're putting together a quality home. So these are the differences you can find in something as small as trusses and how they store them. So if you see these processes and how the builder conducts themselves with these things, you're going to kind of know how they're going to do the whole process when they're building the house. All right, an important thing to discuss. You've looked at the taxes when you're looking at listings, right? You're trying to figure out what your bills are. Don't use the taxes listed in the listing. That is for the seller. That's for the owner that's been there. We don't know how long they've been there. And if they have a homestead in place, we can find that out. But that homestead exemption caps their increases. So you might see somebody that has, I don't know, $2,500 on a $600,000 home. You're like, whoa, how'd that happen? That's pretty low considering all the other ones I've seen. Yeah, they were homesteaded and they've owned the home for a long time. That's how they've got that. You can't use that number. What you need to do is go to LEPA.org, LEPA.org. This is a site where you can go in and there's a tax calculator in there, and when you go to this tab and put in the purchase price, it's going to spit out a tax number, a proposed tax number. I was told by my lender, he uses this as a guide, and he said it's almost always above what it actually turns out to be. So if you want a worst case scenario and you want to plan for that higher number so that you can feel a little safer when you actually have to make the payment, go ahead and try that tool, see how it works for you. And if you have any other questions, we'll tack them one at a time. Now, since we're talking about the homestead exemptions, I also would encourage you, once you close on your home, go ahead and get it filed immediately. It will just sit there until it can actually be applied, but you'll have the paperwork done. You can do it online. Just go ahead and get that filed so that that next tax year, when it rolls around and you can actually get into the homestead program, you're going to then get the discounts and you're going to get the cap protection on the increases. Now, one thing you might be wondering about, since you're coming in and out of the Southwest Florida area, is flying in. You're saying, hey, am I going to actually get there? Am I going to have any problems and delays and things like that? Because right now, amid all these shortages and all these problems, staffing for the airlines has been a problem. And RSW, which is our international airport here, is one of them that's involved in that. So if you're somebody that travels quite often, you might want to look for a backup scenario. I don't know if you can use the Punta Gorda airport. They are one-way flights. They do it at specific times of the week to certain cities, but that could be a recourse for you to use them. We do have some smaller airports, even up in Sarasota, that you can use. Or, worst case, you can always drive 2 hours to Miami or 2 hours to Tampa as your backup. But there are going to be delays at times for flights. It's something that's reported almost on a daily basis. And I don't know if there's going to be an end in sight anytime soon. Plus, with all the travel that's coming up with these seasonal people coming in, we could see that get a whole lot worse if we don't fix these staffing issues with the airlines. All right, so guess what? There was an aggressive driving enforcement program that ran for 5 hours the other day. There were 72 citations Thankfully, no DUIs, no seatbelt violations, believe it or not. So everybody's wearing their seatbelt, and they congratulate everybody for that. But they are cracking down. They're finding ways to now start getting a little bit more of a grip on this driving issue here. You've heard it over and over again. We have terrible drivers here, and there's a lot of unmarked police cars around here as well. So if you think you're getting away with something, you may not be. So you have to learn what those unmarked cars look like. They're almost always Fords. They do use trucks down here too. Pickup trucks, SUVs, cars. There's all kinds of different vehicles. So, they could be anywhere. I would just encourage you, follow the traffic laws as closely as you can, as much as you can, because it sounds like they're going to be starting to do some more of these enforcement things on a regular basis. We also have DUI task forces that'll run on certain weekends. Now, for some reason, they always tend to let you know it's happening, so you will be aware that it could be in any area. I was told by one of my police buddies in the past, they use these wolf packs. So what happens is they'll move them around the city throughout the evening, so it's not even just one location. So again, use your head when you're out having fun with your friends. We have Ubers here. There's even some of our entertainment places that have their own limousine that'll take you home at the end of the night. No charge. They just want to get you home safe. I would say tip the guy because he's going out of his way to get you home safe. But that's a nice little perk that we have at some of our places here in the Cape Coral area. They've been reporting this week that there were sharks found in the canals. And I think I've told you before that anything that's in the Gulf can be in our canal system, right? Well, there's a bull shark the other day. I think it was about 3 feet long. And, it's a common thing. Hell, when we go out fishing all the time, we're always getting sharks. So it's just one of those things that's going to be in the water. This is why people probably don't swim in the canals all that much. Now, there are kids that'll do backflips into the water and stuff like that, but they're not actually swimming around in the canals. And I think you've seen recently that we've had some gators sighted in there too. Again, use caution if you're going to be doing this, but those things are in those waterways, and if you're in the water, you could be running into one of them. Another thing we have here, because obviously we are a warm area, we do have humid temperatures, and that brings out mosquitoes. So we have these task force that do these as well. They take care of the patrolling and then the spraying, and they do it by truck, they do it by plane, and they do it by helicopter. And it's done usually in a 30-mile distance up and down the coast from Boca Grande down to Bonita Springs. And this is where we're just trying to kill off the larvae at different stages before they can even become the mosquitoes. But this is something that'll run pretty much through the summer months when we're really wet here, and try to control this so that we're not seeing any issues, because obviously the West Nile virus that you can get from the mosquitoes biting you and stuff, we're trying to control anything that we can. And one of the ways we do it is spraying. So if you hear planes flying low or helicopters flying low and wondering what is that, you see it on Facebook all the time. People asking, what's this all about? It's normally spraying. I've seen a lot of people asking about beaches and locations and how close they are to different areas. I will tell you this. If you go to one of the small, if they're calling them beaches, the Cape Coral beach it's sand up against brackish brown water. That to me is not a beach. You want the blue-green, beautiful water with white sand. That's a beach. Now, the Cape Coral Beach at the yacht club, it'll let you be in the sand. It'll let the kids play in the water. Hell, I take my kid there to skimboard and stuff, so you can have fun there. They're revamping that whole area whenever they finally get through with all the meetings about what they're going to do and how much it's going to cost, and everybody's okay with it. Anyway, that is what they're considering a beach. I don't call it a beach. I don't consider it a beach. Fort Myers Beach is our closest beach. Next week, we're going to be talking about different cities and the things that are going to be closest for you. Let's just say you're looking for entertainment. We'll talk about which cities are best for that. We'll talk about which cities are best for beaches and other things. So catch that next week. Anyway, there's also another one of these little beaches up in Port Charlotte at their park. Again, brackish water. It's not really a beach. You have to go all the way to Venice or Englewood to get to beaches up there, actual beaches. So keep those things in mind. This Riverwater Beach, if it works for you, it works for you, but I'm going to say most people are going to be disappointed if that's what you're going to the beach for. One thing you may hear about here in Cape Coral is we have rats in the palm trees, and they're affectionately called palm rats, but they live in these trees, and they can get into your home. They'll get into your home by running either on, across the branches onto the roof and then find a way in there, or they'll run across the electrical lines and jump on the house. They can jump up to 6 feet, so that is how they're getting on the roofs. So if you hear anything going on in the attic, some people do put traps up there. Call an exterminator, whatever you want to do. You'll see these black boxes around a lot of homes. Those are actually rat traps. They have poison in them, so you can kind of circumvent and get around this problem if you take the appropriate measures. But again, get an exterminator to tell you what's best to treat it for your area if it's involved in your area. It's not everywhere. I don't have them in my space. But then again, I don't have palm trees. I'm not on a canal. They like to be around canals, and they like the palm trees. So keep that in mind. It can be a problem at different times of the year, and right now happens to be one of those times for us here in Cape Coral. Florida Wildlife Commission, they are responsible for violations that involve wildlife and parks and that kind of stuff. So somebody had asked if they can do a traffic stop. Now, legally, they could do a traffic stop. Would they? Most likely not, because their area is so large and the number of duties they have to perform is so vast, they won't have the time to chase you down to give you a ticket for speeding. So, yes, you'll see them on the road. Yes, they look like a regular police vehicle. It's a different color. They're silver vehicles, and they have pinstriping that is green and white, so they do look a little bit different. But they are police officials, but they're most likely not going to bother you when you're driving down the road. All right, so that's a little bit more about living in Southwest Florida in 2022. If you've got any other questions or want more information on this stuff, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.